you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. As you know, I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and always look forward to joining you once again every Tuesday evening. So tonight, like each week, we have tremendous guests taking time out of their busy schedule to really share their expertise to help you become a better leader so you can be more successful in business. Definitely, as a business owner, there's so many things that you need to know that it's impossible to really know them all. But you need to learn as many as possible. So this is part of your continuous learning. Encourage you to participate. Feel free to comment. Feel free to ask questions. We're doing this for you. So we want to make sure you get the most out of it. So please feel free to participate, and looking forward to a great evening. My guest this evening is Eric Estevez, and really sharp young man who's doing some great stuff. If you talk about a serial entrepreneur, I think you would find him in the dictionary next to that, because I can't even remember how many businesses he has, but he's done a lot. And really been serious about being successful, and definitely wanted to share a little bit of his story with you, let you know a little bit about what he's done and how he's been able to success, and really how he's been able to structure his businesses for certain success. And that's really what this evening's session is all about. So I'm going to bring Eric on and really structuring your game plan for certain success. Okay, there we go. Hey, Eric, how are you doing today?
Hey, Andrew, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Okay, excellent. Glad to have you. And, it's always a pleasure having, people who are doing some great stuff. So, you're where are you living now?
I'm in New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay, so you're okay. I saw you were in New Jersey. For some reason, I thought I saw some Floridas as well.
Yeah, I have a Florida number. I do business out in Florida. I went to college there many years ago, and I just stayed with the phone number. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So excellent. So we're both in NJ tonight, and definitely. I guess we got our first snow of the year. That's kind of interesting. End of February, your first snow, so it's been a good winter. But let's get on hand to the topic and really start chat about some real key things that can help people be more successful in business. But before we do that, let's hear a little bit about your story. What is your journey, and what are some of the key milestones that you find?
Yeah, Andrew, thank you. Yeah, you know what? I right out of college, I started working in Fortune 50, retailers, companies, and worked my way up. I always had a thirst for owning my own business and businesses, and I've always thought that I was going to be an entrepreneur, but life happens. Things kind of take you off that path, and I was fortunate enough to have a family at a young age, so I had to make sure that I started working immediately wherever it was to provide for my family, and luckily, I made the best of it and was able to work my way up. And after a 14-year career managing teams and leader and in the leadership roles, I had upwards of 500 people reporting to me at a given time. I was, I started to, when we started getting in a better financial situation, to start to venture out into other ventures and other businesses, I, with my stock options and bonuses, I was able to write a children's book with my wife about our dog, and we're continuing to develop a series, and that was one of my first ventures into doing something other than my 9 to 5, and it was a passion project where we fell in love with, and we wanted to continue to do more of it. Right. Then I started doing things like mobile apps, right? And mobile apps were hot. And, I had no software skills and no development skills. But I was able to, purchase these skins of these apps and hire software developers and try to flip apps. Didn't make much money on that, but just learned some of those basics, right? And as an entrepreneur, you have to fail a few times, right? But I think the defining moment that kind of started my transition outside of retail and started business in the mortgage world was when I started investing in real estate passively. Where I wanted to learn about the industry, and I had friends and acquaintances that were flipping homes, and I remember investing a good chunk of money my first time to get a return on my investment. But I really took it as a college education, as a second college education. And I learned everything there was to know about, what it is to be a real estate investor. I learned the acronyms, and, LTVs, loan to values, ARVs, after repair values, right? And I just really learned, I was really excited to just continue going deeper and becoming my own investor. And I did that a few times, right, passively, where I wasn't quite comfortable to go and do it on my own, right? I did it a few times. I learned a little bit more, and then I went ahead and I started, flipping my own house, and we added a level and built back, and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on renovation, and really kind of scaled that. It also wasn't the biggest success, right? We learned a lot in that experience, but what I did learn was that I did not want to continue working for somebody else. I started believing in myself and believing in my abilities and believing in the fact that I can take what I learned in leadership roles, and how to deal with people and how to build operations and systems and how to manage profit and losses, to go ahead and leave a $250,000 job, right, at where I was, and just go out and start up my own company. Luckily I went into this business with a little bit of help. So my father's been on one-man team. He has about 25 years of experience. Really didn't build out a team, but I said, hey, teach me how to put a loan together, and I'll develop the people, hire the people, build the systems, and a few years later we built $100 million branch. That's where we're at. And the good thing is that I came into this business to not only just be an originator or be a branch manager. I wanted to make sure that I build systems where I can start to exit from the day-to-day role, so you will, and continuing to build a viable business so it doesn't control me, and then go ahead and start investing and spending some time in some other business and using some of those key fundamental qualities, so you will, or characteristics, to continue building others. And that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Excellent. Well, you haven't done too many things, right? But I think one of the key things about your journey is you've sort of completed the journey a couple times. So you started from nothing but an idea or thought of what you wanted to do, created it, built it, and then built it so that, or building it so that it can run successfully without you. And that should be the goal of every entrepreneur and business owner. So I look forward to talking to you, in depth about that, because I think that that's something that a lot of people don't appreciate. Every step, you have new challenges, you have new opportunities, you have to have new goals. You have to renew yourself and your skills, because your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take it. So definitely look forward to chatting with you more, but we're going to take like a 60-second commercial. We do this through the Small Business Pro University. So it's good to see what the Small Business Pro University is. And then we'll be back talking to small business with Eric Estevez. Do you own your business, or does it own you? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need at www.sbprou.com. We will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment. Welcome back. I'm here with Eric Estevez, talking small business. So Eric, in your intro, you talked about quite a few things, but one of the cornerstones for you to be able to do what you that you did was you had to find the belief and the confidence that you could do it. And talk a little bit about how you were able to come to that point, and what you had to overcome to really believe that you could do it and have confidence in your ability to do it.
Yeah, I think past performance is the best determinant for future success, right? So, in my role in the leadership as a leader, I was able to, post some good results. I was always a top producer, top performer. I was a fixer. I always had a good culture in my building. And I realized that, I can take some of that formula and apply to other things, right? Even though it's a different industry. But it's really, it took me 14 years, right, to grow as a leader, to then, transition and do something totally different, but use some of those fundamental principles to then build a, $100 million business and earn more money than I've ever earned in 4 years. Right now, I'm looking at those fundamental business practices and applying it to have an outsourcing company of virtual assistants. I'm also now assisting my daughter, who's a music recording artist, and I'm her manager. So I'm able to manage different things and hopefully get to a result and achieve a result much quicker than before, because I'm able to now take what I've learned and get there much quicker, because it's building a business. There's some fundamental layers, right, in a business. And one of the first ones is really to get to know your business that you're in, right? I think that was one of the mistakes that I made when I first went to the mortgage business. I'm more of a big thinker, visionary. I like to lead people, but because it's a new industry, I needed to be enthralled, right? I needed to be in the weeds and be really good at what I did, so I can then hire people to now do the things that I didn't like to do, or I didn't need to do, so I can continue to grow the business. So, I think it's just, I believed in myself because I was successful in a prior industry. So it's just about reapplying it, right? And say, hey, you know what? I can do the same thing in a short amount of time.
Excellent. So, past performance is key, but what if you don't have any past performance? How do you muster the belief and confidence? How could someone, what should someone be doing, and how would they do that?
Yeah, I think, being accountable to your strengths and your weaknesses, right? I think that that's something that I learned early on with mentors, and I always understood the importance and the power of mentorship. So I always had one, and then I always was one. So I knew that if I'm going to go do something, I want to make sure that I align myself with people that have already done what I want to do, right? And that are able to or are willing to share some of their secrets to success. And quite honestly, it's just copying some of those things and being consistent. And obviously, you're your own individual. You're going to put your own flair, but there's a formula, right? And if you're going to go do something, if you're going to open up a business, if you're going to open up a laundromat, a car wash, if you want to, open up a contracting business, right? You want somebody that has already built what you've built to be on your corner, to really guide you, so that way it can flatten that learning curve, right? It's really all about that. So, I think, if you know that you've had success in other areas before, and you have a good work ethic, and you have the ability to learn, and you have the ability to hold yourself accountable, that's key in anything that you want to do, right? Because if those things are missing, you're going to have a difficult time in trying something different, right? And I think that accountability, and I talk about 10 fundamental basics to build a business. Accountability is one of them, and that is something that a lot of people miss, and hence why sometimes they fail.
Okay, great points. Actually, you covered several great things, so I want to sort of unpack some of them, if that's okay, because very important. You talked about accountability, but what is accountability really? How would you define that? I mean, I think a lot of times you hear words, but many times you have an idea what it means, but a lot of times you may not know exactly what that means. I was in the Navy, and I was a accountable officer, but because I paid everybody, and everybody, so you had to be accountable to the penny. But talk about a little bit more about what accountability really means, and how you learned about it.
Yeah, accountability really means looking at yourself in the mirror first, right? I think that when there's failures or when things don't go your way, it's easy to point fingers and blame market conditions, blame you didn't have any help, blame, right? And I think that's a defense mechanism, right? Because if we look ourselves in the mirror and ask what could I have done, right? It's also, it's a humbling experience, right? And you got to realize to yourself, you got to realize, I'm not perfect. I want to grow. And I think when something goes wrong, right, I always look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, what could I do? What could I have done to avoid this, right? And maybe if it was a team effort and my team failed, okay, well, did I hire the right team? Did I motivate them correctly? Did I train them correctly? So I think when you truly look at yourself in the mirror in anything you do, first, right? I think that's true accountability. Now, in addition to that, the other layer of that is, once you say you're going to do something, and once you say you're going to go ahead and achieve a goal, and I talk about this as well, where I think one of the first steps in anything is setting a goal, and the second step is reverse engineering those goals, right? Once you have those activities that you're going to do, are you holding yourself accountable to do those activities on a daily basis? And that's, again, where we fail. It's easy to dream, right? It's easy to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the volume that I'm going to do in sales, and this is what I'm going to do with my health, right? It's easy, but when you don't reverse engineer and know what you got to do on a daily basis and hold yourself accountable to that, it's going to be difficult for you to achieve those goals. So that's why I think you can apply that to any business, is say, okay, these are my activities. I'm going to hold myself accountable. And it's also great, Andrew, you talk about being accountability, you were accountability manager, to have an accountability partner, right? And what does that look like? Do you talk to your mentor? Do you have a coach? Do you have a peer or a colleague that you talk to on a weekly basis to kind of help you keep in check, right? That's what, when as a father, right, we have to, we're the accountability partners of our children, right? And vice versa. So the fact of the matter is that we have to do what we say. And a lot of us just put things on a piece of paper, and we just think, we hope that things happen for the best, and that's when people do not achieve our goal. My first year in the industry, I was, I was making $250,000 with bonuses and stock options before I left, and I just said, I just want to make $100,000 my first year because I got to eat what I kill. But then how was I going to do that? Right now, I had to be very granular and say, okay, well, this is the average loan amount, right? This is how many loans I have to have closed in order to on a monthly basis in order to achieve that. So how many people did I need to talk to? I needed to talk to close to 100 people a month, which means I needed to get about 3 leads a day. So if it's Wednesday and I only have 3 leads, something is going on. I have to now go and prospect and change my activities to make up for that. Now, if you do that on a daily and a weekly basis, then you're going to make your monthly goals, you're going to make your quarterly goals, and you're going to make your yearly goals, right? So that's a level of accountability that we have to have in order to meet our goals.
Okay. You actually talked exactly what the military is all about. Accountability and discipline, doing what you said you were going to do. And when asked about discipline, what does it mean? A key thing is being able to do things that you don't want to do without having someone make you do it. And, so definitely that, your accountability definition was right on. I think being a leader, you have to be accountable to yourself and your people. And, the point about, it's never your team that fails. The buck stops with you. You have to own everything. And if you don't, then you're not going to be able to be the leader that you should be. And you're not going to accomplish the things you need to accomplish, because you have to continually look at yourself, figure out how you can become better and do better. It's okay to make mistakes, just not okay to not learn from the mistakes that you make. So that's great points. We're going to go back to a few of the other things that you had said earlier, because I think they're also worth going into a little bit more detail on. And a great thing you said was, go learn from somebody who already has done what you're trying to do. Surprisingly, you probably found usually they're more than happy to work with you and help you because they're really into what they do. So they love to talk about it and love someone who's interested in it. Is that what you found as well?
All the time. The most successful people are sharers, and they also understand that a small percentage of people are the ones that are actually going to go and do what they say that they did anyway, right? So it's not like they're creating a ton of competition in the marketplace, because only a small percentage are going to actually follow through with it, right? So yeah, I think that givers, right, get more in return, and I've lived my life that way, and the people that have mentored me are that way. So yeah, attach yourself to someone. It's okay to say, hey, can I take 10 minutes of your time? I remember, meeting high producers and inviting them to lunch. I would love to invite you to lunch. I would just like to just ask you some questions, and they love it, right? I remember spending an hour and a half with a top producer, not only in the state, but in the country. He's a top 10 producer, produces hundreds of millions of dollars on his own. And we were on the phone for an hour and a half. He was just giving me information, and I enjoyed it. I sent the guy a box of cigars just because I know his time is so valuable. So you have to ask for help and guidance and align yourself with the right people.
Okay. No, definitely. Another thing you said is it's okay to copy. There's there's very few patents on business, and you can learn a lot and save a lot of time by copying. What are some things that you've copied that you found helpful, and how do you evaluate what you may want to copy and how and where you want to copy it from?
Yes, it's the very first time I stepped into this industry, without even earning a dime. I knew I had to invest in myself and my development, right? And I paid for coaching, and they had proven track records of what to do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And they broke down day by day, and I took that and I lived and breathed it. Now, as I got more confidence in those tasks, I was able to personalize them and put my own flair in it, and then maybe add other levels, right? But you have to just start with the basics, and when you as you're evolving, and I say this a lot too, even through social media, if you see somebody that's doing something that you like, right, that's generating business, copy it, right? So that way you can go ahead and say, I like this video, I like this content that this person's creating. So follow individuals that you want to emulate, that you want to go ahead and try to achieve a certain level of success. When you compare yourself to them, you want to go ahead and say, what are they doing? I love listening to podcasts, right? And I love, I'm a big Audible book listener, right? And you use those things to really motivate you, and it also helps you become a better leader, because there's going to be certain key terms or triggers or ideas that now you start to adapt and implement, and it just shapes you as a better leader. I use the term a lot, right? 3 feet from gold, right? Napoleon Hill, where he talked about, we have to continue, and if you pick what you're going to copy in some of these activities, you have to stick to it and be consistent, right? Because how are you going to measure success and an ROI if you always constantly changing activities, right? You got to be consistent, because if you keep on doing something and a few weeks later, a month later, you stop doing it, you could be 3 feet from gold. You could be three feet from the thing that's going to take your business to the next level. So be consistent. Do it enough where you can say, okay, this is the ROI. I've exhausted my ability to grow to really deliver on this task that I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that's also one of the faults of an entrepreneur, because sometimes we get desperate. Sometimes we want results right away. And it takes time to build a business, and it takes time to build a habit, and it takes time to be a master at that habit, right? So those are the things that I talk about with my team, is just copy, emulate. What are the 3 things what is something that I do that you like? What is something that a competitor does that you like, and make it your own?
Okay, definitely. You also talked about alignment and being in alignment. What does that mean, and how do you do that?
Yeah, I think as a leader of any business, right, you are the one that puts forward your mission statement, your values, what you stand for, right, and what your goals are. And I think you have to hire people that are aligned with those goals, right? And instead of working against the grain, they're gonna push you forward, right? So if they have similar values, if they have similar work ethic, right, they don't have to have the same ideas as you. You want to have different ideas to challenge you and grow. But I think if some of those core fundamental values are aligned, right, you're going to be able to get to your destination much quicker, right? So a lot of times, right, there's when I hired people in my teams in the prior leadership roles, right, I kind of knew where we were at, what the 3 month goal, what the 12-month goal was, and I wanted to make sure that I hired people that were aligned to the goals that I needed. Maybe I needed somebody that come in very militaristic, and military folk are some of the best leaders that I've ever worked with. And I said, I need somebody to whip this team into shape, because we need discipline, we need organization, right? Or sometimes it was too much of that, and it was just no culture, and it was just a rigid environment. I needed somebody to come in that was just fun, and was able to get the best out of someone just by getting to know them and pushing them in a different way. So you have to really know the culture that you're in, or you're trying to build, and you have to make sure that you hire people that are in alignment of wherever you want to get to.
Okay, excellent. So there's so many things that you touched upon that are valuable. Um, so you talked about a formula. There's a formula to success in business. You know, definitely when investors are looking to invest in somebody, before they invest in your plan, or a big piece of it is who is going to lead the effort. And many times that's the most important, because you can be successful if you're a good entrepreneur, better than someone with a better plan, but they're not as good as of an entrepreneur. So can you talk a little bit about the formula that you found helps you be able to do what you're doing across different types of businesses and different industries?
Yeah, I think first, you have to know what you have to have a clearly defined vision, right? What is your goal, right? Um, what problem are you solving? What is it that you want to accomplish at the end of the year, right? And obviously, companies, COOs, they talk about sales projections, right? So hey, what are the sales projections? And then, right, you set the goal, and then you have to, I mentioned before, you have to reverse engineer that. Okay, so now how are we going to get there, right? Now you have to have a plan so you can share with everybody, so that way everybody believes that that goal is attainable, right? So what's going to happen on a daily, on a monthly, quarterly, on a yearly basis, right? Typically, when you have these multinational corporations, these are corporations, they're looking at 5 years out, they're looking at 10 years out, right? So you have to have clearly defined activities and how you're going to get there, right? Then I really believe, especially as an entrepreneur, you have to get organized, right? I think there's a lot of talented individuals, a lot of smart individuals, and they might have great goals and they might know exactly what they need to do to get there. But then they fail because they're not organized, and it's difficult for them to juggle all those activities, and it's difficult for them to measure the ROI of those activities. And they just kind of get lost in the sauce, right? So get organized. What kind of system do you have to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable, right? Back to those goals, and your team accountable. So, I right behind me, I have Jesse Eisler's big ass calendar. Excuse my language. That's what he actually calls it, and it actually maps out the year, so you can kind of step away and look at the year from a bird's eye perspective, and you can divide the year through all your different goals. Right? You got to realize too. I'm talking about business, but success is not just business related, right? Success is a lot of different spokes of the wheel, right? Success is health, success is family, success is your faith, so it's just your finances. It's not just your business, but you really want to have goals in each of those spokes of the wheel, right? So now, right, if you are going to say, I'm going to go ahead and plan my year, you want to plan it also to address those spokes of the wheel, right? If you want to make sure that you are present and spending time with your family, okay, well, what are you doing for date nights? What are you doing for family game nights? What are you doing for vacations, right? And plan it for the year, so you know that it's on your calendar, so you can actually achieve the things you want to achieve. So be organized. I use the Best Self Journal, right? Is one of my favorite journals, where it keeps me accountable on a daily basis. I'm a 5 a.m.er, so I wake up early and I write down my task, and I can clearly know who I can delegate tasks to, and where it is that I need to spend my time, so I can get the biggest bang for my buck, right? I just mentioned, I'm a 5 a.m. I think waking up early, especially as an entrepreneur, I think it's key. And it sounds kind of cliche. You don't have to wake up at 5 in the morning, but if you're a 7 in the morning person, try doing 6:30 and see what that extra half hour does. Get used to it. Try waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning and see what that does. Now, there might be some businesses that are overnight or whatever the case may be, but the whole point is that if you wake up before the rest of your team in your business, and you're planning, and you actually have a clearly defined goal for each day, you're going to start to seeing that you're going to stay ahead of the curve. And you hear that all the time, wake up early, right? And again, it depends on where you're at in your life and what your career is. But the whole point is, when you wake up and you plan and you actually can be prioritized, you're going to be much more effective that day. Leverage your time. Number 5, leverage your time and delegate. So, I've met dozens of really successful people that have produced much more than I have, but they're burnt out. And sometimes what happens is their business is like a wave. It goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down because there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So why not leverage your time, right? Hire people. If you're a solopreneur, right, you can outsource and get virtual assistants, and you have to invest in training in them. But now those virtual assistants, for example, are going to be able to take away that those activities aren't making you achieve your goal, or are not money making activities. Let's say, if it's sales, if paperwork, right, is taking you away from connecting with people, so you can now go ahead and build your business and build your brand, then hire somebody for that paperwork. And a lot of people don't like to invest in that, right? But what's happening is there's an opportunity cost because you're continuing to do that. And that could be someone that, let's say, you can hire for a few dollars an hour, right, out in the Philippines, which is where my outsource company is based. Or right, you're going to do it, and if you're $100 an hour person, guess what? You're $100 an hour person doing a $5 an hour job, right? So leverage your time and delegate. I think what this is very important, and this is a personal one to me. I'm a people pleaser sometimes, Andrew, right? I want to be friends with everybody, right? And I know that I can't. And sometimes, like, when I have to have difficult conversations or stuff, I tend to put that away, right? For the end of to the end of the day. But what happens is, psychologically and subconsciously, you are bogged down by that task that you were trying to avoid. So you want to eat that frog first. And there's a book called Eat That Frog, which means you want to take care of the difficult tasks first. You want to take care of the high brain function activity first, right? So that way you can open up your day for you to continue to connect and grow your business, and not have that psychological weight, right, on yourself for that day. So take on the tough task first thing. I think, I just mentioned most of your day should really be connecting with people. Marketing is key, right? And now number 8, you can leverage social media to get a deeper reach much faster than ever before in history, right? You can market yourself and brand yourself through social media as an educator, as a leader in whatever you want to do. And if you open up a business, right, you can get there really quickly. I just mentioned that one of the new businesses that I'm working on is I'm managing my daughter's career, right, music career, and now I'm using my outsourcing company that helps me, create appointments in my calendar with realtor referral partners and with potential leads and whatnot. Now I'm using them to reach out on her behalf to festivals and booking agents and whatnot, right? So now I'm able to cross pollinate and able to hopefully get her the $1 million deal that I want to get her at the end of the year, right? We talked about this one, accountability. None of that matters if you don't hold yourself accountable and move forward, right? And look yourself in the mirror. And then number 10, really be consistent. Whatever you're going to do it, and do it for a while, and until you can truly measure the ROI. You have to ask yourself, I did everything that I could in this activity, and I just don't think this is the right activity, and this is right. But you have to, again, be accountable to do that, right? And that way you can, maybe scrap some activities and add some new ones. But people that are always constantly trying new things are not going to get any traction, right? So, those are some fundamental things that I think is very necessary for any business that you build.
Okay. No, I mean, you've definitely, you're covering so many valuable things. We need like 3 hours to really go into some of the things that you're sharing. But this is excellent. One thing you talked about was goals, and you have to plan to have goals. So unfortunately, many business owners don't plan, but we're talking about, how you create certain success, and planning and setting goals is one of the most important factors in being able to do it, and being able to do it on a consistent and long-term basis. So when you talked about the goals and holding yourself accountable, one of my mentors and one of our guests, previous guest Don Viapre, he was on the show, and he used to sell cable for Cablevision in Newark, old black-owned cable company, and he was like, when I started out, I would not go home every night until I sold my quota for the day. So if it was 2 p.m. or if it was 11 p.m., I didn't go home until I sold my quota for the day. And, it's a game of, you have to be diligent every day if you're really going to get the results that you want. And so, glad you really brought that point home another way. So definitely, we're covering some great stuff. We got a little bit of time left. Want to take a quick commercial break. Give people a chance to learn a little bit about my most recent book called The Masterpreneur Playbook. It's something that really lays out a 5-step plan for growing your business. So we're going to take 60 seconds, learn a little bit about that. I'll be back with Eric Estevez, talking small business.
The best sports teams have a proven playbook. Everyone should have one. We've got one for you, because there are so many things you need to know as a business owner. Many business owners work longer and harder for less money than if they had a job, because they are on the wrong path.
Break that cycle with the Masterpreneur Playbook, a 5-step business growth plan that addresses the challenges that business owners face going from working in their business to working on their business. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, a business growth pro and CFO. The Masterpreneur Playbook incorporates proven strategies for successfully growing your business that I discovered during my personal journey.
Is there any reason you wouldn't want to accelerate the growth of your business, make more money, and have more free time? Of course you would. Don't hesitate. Visit www.spprou.com to download a complimentary copy of the Masterpreneur Playbook today.
Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live, Talking Small Business. I'm here with Eric Estevez, and we're really talking about how to structure your game plan for certain success, and really covering some key things. We do have a question from Lorraine here, so why don't we just address that real quick, and then we'll jump back on some of the things we were talking about. So Eric, what are the top ways to motivate your team to get the best work out of them?
I think that's a great question. Very important question. The first thing is you have to really know your team, right? And that's part of hiring. And you're gonna, when you first hire people, you might know them on a surface level. And after a few weeks, you get to see what they're good at, what their strengths and what the opportunities are. But I think you want to know your team, right? And then with time, you want to make sure that you have that open line of communication, so you can truly find out what motivates them, right? Everybody's different, right? Whether it's incentives, whether it's upward movement, whether it's recognition. So, and you can ask them, right? I remember having this conversation when I hired a prospect, when I hired a candidate, and I said, what motivates you? And I remember, keeping a cheat sheet. So I know what it is, because everybody's different, and it changes with time, right? As they grow, and somebody might come to you, a college graduate, and 10 years later, 5 years later, they're starting a family, they have different motivations. It changes, right? So you have to be in tune, and I think that that's something that's tough for leaders, because we have a lot of different things that we have to worry about, but we always have to make sure we have an open line of communication, right? Just to kind of give you some examples, if it's financial motivation, then okay, well, do you have some incentives in place? I know that I have incentives in place for people that produce a certain level each month, where there's bonuses per file and whatnot, right? Upward mobility, right? Where do they want to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years? And if you help them towards that trajectory, you're going to gain that buy-in, that trust from those individuals. Remember, people work for people, right? Not companies. So people are going to work for Andrew, right? And not the company that he's part of. So the fact of the matter is that, right, you're going to have to build that bond and that relationship and really truly know who they are and keep the open line of communication. I remember I used to have monthly statuses with my staff when I had 500 people that reported to me. If I had let's say 20 direct supervisors or supervisors that reported to me, I would meet with those 20 every month, and I would check in and, hey, where you at? What motivates you? What's next? And if I can play a small role in helping them get there, right, they're gonna feel valued, right? So my biggest thing is just really know your team, stay in touch with your team as they grow and then evolve, because you have to realize that your business, just like your people, is a living organism, and that business is comprised of people, right? So that's my biggest thing is find out what motivates them. Sometimes what motivates me as a leader is totally different than what motivates someone else, right? I have my first hire in the mortgage business is now my processor, and she was making $11 an hour, right? And now she's making close to six figures, right, in her job. So that's a big change, and I was able to bring her along with me. So there's trust there, right? And they know that I'm always gonna make sure that I reward performance and loyalty, right? And hopefully we can kind of continue growing. And the more we grow, it's not just Eric that grows, my team grows along with me.
Okay.
Oh, good question.
Excellent. Definitely a good question. Great answer. One of the things I used to say back when I was corporate was people don't leave companies, they leave people. So, your leadership, wherever you are, if you have a lot of people leaving you, then you may need to re-examine what you're doing. Whether it's you're hiring the wrong people or you're not leading them in the right way. And one of the key things that you hit on is you really have to deal with people effectively and deal with items efficiently. So many times the fastest route is not the route you want people, but with tasks, you want to take the fastest route. I think there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with someone else. And, I don't think you or I would be where we are if we went alone. And developing your team and is key. So you talked a lot about that. But as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, your greatest resource is time. You talked about how you manage your time. But maybe talk a little bit more about that, because it becomes so important because you can't do everything. So what is your time management strategy, and how do you get up early, you're doing different things, but how can other people benefit from what you're doing in terms of managing their time, and what are the top secrets to being able that you found work for you?
Yeah, I love Calendly, right? The app where it's integrated into my Google Calendar, and I work through Calendar. I schedule everything because I want to make sure that if it's on my calendar, I'm going to give that person that task, right, 100% energy and focus, especially in business, in our business, and in sales, right? You're getting calls all day, and if all you're doing is fielding calls, it's going to be difficult for you to, right, achieve that goal for the day. So I time block, effectively. And then I think when you do that and you work through a calendar, and here's the thing, it can turn some people off in the beginning, right? Because people want access to you right away, but once you let people know that you have a system in place and that you are going to get back to them effectively and quickly and efficiently, they're going to realize this is how it works. This is the process. You have to realize, I'm not comparing myself to a doctor, right? But when somebody makes an appointment, right, they have to make an appointment with a doctor, right? Then they have a nurse that comes in and does all the checking, the vital stuff, right? And in the end, the doctor comes in and you see the doctor for a few minutes, right? So and that's how I work. I just want to make sure that I'm fielding calls and I'm training people to be able to take some of these things away from my plate so I can truly focus on the things that I'm good at and is going to continue to build new business, right? People want to have lunch all the time, and I go, I don't know if lunch is necessary. Let's have a Zoom call for 30 minutes and 15 minutes, and that saves 2 hours of my time, right? By doing lunch. So sometimes you have to let people know how you work and control that, and let people know that you value your time, right? And that's how I work. I work through calendar. When I speak with my realtor referral partners, I keep it real because I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver. And I say, listen, there's probably 90% chance that if you call me, I'm not going to pick up my phone, but this is why. I have a very, systematic day. I schedule 15-minute phone calls in between. I follow up, right? Text me, or if you call me, I will get back to you. Or if we have a deal, right, together, right, here's my team. You can reach them. They'll be able to help you better. So you're able to kind of delegate people. I realize that you're only one person and you have all different personalities and expectations coming at you, but you have to learn how to control it with your organization in your calendar to say, no, this is my workflow. This is how I work. And most people adapt to it, right? And I think you got to just be honest and set that expectations with anybody that you're working with. So Calendly is an app that I live by. I have my virtual assistants. I have one that calls my database to schedule people on my calendar, right, and puts notes on there. So that way, when I know when I'm calling, I know, some of the notes. I have another one that's calling, referral partners in the states that I'm licensed in. So that way I can introduce myself to new realtors, new CPAs, new financial advisors, right? So that way I know who they are, add them onto my social media network. I have somebody managing my social media. So that way they're always constantly posting and engaging and interacting. And I do that as well. But even if I don't do it, I know that it's constantly working. So you have to say, okay, well, what is taking up my time? And can you train people, hire people, outsource, right? So that way they can take away those things so you can focus on doing things like, for me, doing things like this and educating people and continue to grow the brand. This is important, right? This is what I like to do. So I want to make sure that I build a business where my time is spent, where it's going to bring in the most prospects and it's something that I really, truly like. If I'm in a desk all day and working on things that I can have somebody else do, then I failed as a leader, right? And I think when you're organized and I have that calendar system, I'm able to say, okay, well, this is where I spent my day. Was this a good use of my time? And I'm able to go back and say, hey, maybe I need to train this person to do this because I'm seeing myself doing this a lot more. And I don't think that my time here is necessary. So really, really having that, being able to step back and look at your day and look at your week and being able to say, okay, did I spend my time effectively? I think that's really helpful.
Okay. No, definitely. Figuring out how to spend your time is key. And, over the pandemic, I've shifted to a similar program to Calendly that, has made night and day difference. Since the pandemic, I'm probably 3 times as effective because I'm able to do so many things in, actually even better through Zoom and through virtual than in person. So, being able to own your time and like you said, people initially they resist change, but they, once they see that, understand it and see that it's actually better, they fall in line. A lot of times they like it better. People who complain the most about the change, not long after they love it. So that's part of your leadership, being able to do that. So, one of the things that I ask people that I'm coaching and working with, because this is the essence of, running your business professionally is understanding your most important job. So, I ask, what is your most important job as a business owner? So what would you say your most important job is as a business owner?
So that's a great question. I think, as a business owner, you are the captain of the ship, right? You have to see in front of everyone else, because if you have everybody that's working on the minutia on a day to day and they have their head down and they're working, 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 it's difficult to look up and realize that the ship is about to crash, right? Or right. So I think you have to make sure that you always are educating yourself and in tune with market conditions, kind of, and not everybody has a crystal ball, but the more you know that you're out there and learning about industry and new way of doing things, and where's the industry headed, is easier for you to navigate when you're looking forward and onward, right? I think that, when you're in the business and you have your head down. And listen, I'm all for rolling up my sleeves and getting things done when we need to. But if you do that for a long period of time, or that's all you're doing, it's going to be difficult to get to your destination, right? Because the ship might be veering in the wrong direction and take you off course. So I think you really want to make sure that you have the vision. We knew, for example, in the mortgage industry, we knew that it was going to be a tough year, right? We knew that once the Fed announced that they were going to stop, or that the government announced they were going to stop quantitative easing, right, that the rates were going to go back up, because quantitative easing was something that was invented in 2008 by the government, and it kind of didn't let the markets do what they're supposed to do, right? It was another secondary market where it kept rates low while inflation was continuing to increase, and typically the rates are always at or above inflation. So anyway, I say that to say that the minute that was going to happen, or we knew it was going to happen, we knew that rates were gonna go high. What does that mean, right? In the industry, and we don't have a crystal ball, but if we're always in tune and learning and listening to industry professionals, it's easier for us to navigate. Do we have to make cutbacks? We have to, maybe we don't spend money here because, we're not going to have, business is going to get cut back. And last year, the business in the mortgage world dropped by between 30 and 50% in many cases, right? And that affected a lot of people, and it put a lot of people out of business, and people had to scramble. So I think if you're in tune, the people that were in tune and started making those cuts, started making adjustments, earlier, are the ones that are continuing to still do well.
Okay. No, that's definitely a great answer. Definitely once you have an organization where you're really leading teams, that's exactly it. When you're an entrepreneur, and you don't have as much of a team, your job is to market and sell. And most entrepreneurs and business owners don't realize that's their job. And even with what you're doing, you're in the market. You're understanding the market, marketing, figuring out your marketing strategies, your plans for selling. But fortunately, you're in the industry. You have a background in sales, but most people don't, who have businesses, and usually they haven't really trained or figured out, or learned a lot about marketing or sales. But is there like a few pointers or 101s that could help people market and sell more effectively, or at least start to?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier that you have to leverage social media to get a deeper reach much faster. It's relatively cheap way to do it, right? I know you can run ads and whatnot, but now you're able to more people. You have more access to more people, through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, right? TikTok. I've closed deals from TikTok. I'm on TikTok and I create videos, and I posted a video yesterday in Spanish, and I got a couple different prospects that reached out to me. So the fact of the matter is that, right, you want to use social media to really market the product, right? What problem you are solving to the community, right? What value is it that you're bringing, right? So I think you have to really use that And sometimes people are shy. And I tell people, when people get into this business, I say, okay, well, how many friends do you have on Facebook? Okay, a couple hundred, 300, 500, 1,000, 5,000, whatever it is. And I say, okay, well, does everybody know what you do and what your business is, right? And if not, send a message to everybody in your friends list. And I remember having, I don't know, 800 friends on Facebook when I started this, and now I'm like maxed out. I have to keep on deleting people. But the fact of the matter is that I send a message to everybody on that contact list. I sent the message to everybody on my phone list, just so they know this is what I do now, right? That's the first thing, because if somebody gets the service from someone else and you see them at a party and they say, "Oh, I wish I would have known, that that you sold cars. I would have bought my car from you. I wish you would have known that you sold life insurance. I just got life insurance, last week," because you didn't do a good enough job of letting everybody right, what you do. Right now, there's some people that may not want to use you, and that's perfectly fine. But that's the first step, is let everybody know. And using social media is one of the greatest way to do that. Right. I leverage social media by being an educator and by providing information, and that's how I provide value. And by doing such, right, people see me as someone that is in tune with the market and wants to continue to educate people, and that now brings me business. And or if I go into a room or to a brokerage, "Oh yeah, I've seen you around, I've seen your videos on TikToks," or whatever the case may be. It breaks that ice. So social media right now is the cheapest way to really advertise and market your business.
Okay. Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, we could go on forever. This has been tremendous. It's 9 o'clock already, so it sneaks up on us. But this was great. Appreciate having you as a guest. I think everybody in the audience found value in what you're saying. I think that what we've talked about warrants actually going back and seeing the recording, because there's so many things you covered that are important, and just going through it the first time may not give you the full understanding of what we talked, all the things that we talked about tonight. So, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay, and I look forward to seeing you like 5 to 10 years. Hopefully I can get on your calendar then.
Listen, you where in New Jersey are you? What town?
I'm in Montclair.
All right, yeah. So I'm in Union County, so we'll definitely see each other around soon.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to close things out, but if you can hang out for a minute, we'll chat for a minute afterwards. So, okay, excellent. So definitely want to thank everybody for joining in. Thanks for your questions, your comments. Roberta, I saw your question at the end. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get to it, but I'm going to share it with Eric, and he can get back to you, with some thoughts on it. And this was definitely a great session. Like Eric said, social media and sharing information is key, and that's one of the reasons why I do the show. And one of the initiatives we have, and that's we're developing. It's still in its early stages, but we're creating what we call the Small Business Pro Network. And really what that is a community, a network where entrepreneurs and business owners can come together to learn, collaborate, and grow. And right now we're actually pre-official launch, but since you hung out with us tonight, I'm going to make it available to anyone here who wants to join up for free. So this is the link, or this is the info to join up. So Small Business Pro Network, www.sbpronetwork.com, and look forward to seeing you there. And definitely every week we have some great guests, and next week we have a tremendous topic. We're going to be talking about storytelling for network. Everybody talks about how stories sell, and being able to craft a story. We've got Dion Flynn, and that's one of the things he does. He actually does comedy, and has been on You may have seen him on the late night shows, supporting, in supporting roles on the comedy side. So looking forward to having him as a guest next week and covering that topic, because being able to tell stories is key. And sometimes it's hard to figure out, what story to tell or how to tell a story. So definitely want to encourage you to join us next week as well. And, as you know, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.